I'm going to be very specific here. New York City has 7 games left, including 6 against teams above the playoff line, and that includes the Chicago Fire. Soldier Field, the site of Saturday's game for New York City FC. Roberto Abramowitz and I, we've recently returned from Orangeburg, New York, where we evaluated today's training session, so we're going to share some things from that. Also, international break stuff, World Cup tickets, and a milestone in our live commentary. It's all coming up on NYCFC Views Live.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. NYCFC Views.
Collins approaches the shot, and New York City wins the first MLS Cup on their first try, and they're going crazy. Tiene tiro y gol! Gol! New York City es el campeón de Major League Soccer.
The sickest New York City FC podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Yo, 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 there's Roberto Abramowitz. I'm Glenn Crooks. And yes, it's the tail end of the regular season. How about that? Greg Berhalter today called it a thing of beauty. How exactly did he put it? I've got him right. His quote, he talked about walking into the U.S. Open tennis tournament. And he said, when you walk into Arthur Ashe Stadium, there's a big sign that says, pressure is privilege. And that's been his message to his team. We know Pascal Janssen has called every game since there were 10 games remaining a cup final. So that's what's going on. Now we're going to get to that. We're going to talk a little bit about New York City's debacle against DC United. But the first thing I wanted to bring up, Roberto, and we're going to talk about the 400th game in English commentary history here for the New York City FC Network and the club. And then on Decision Day, we will pivot towards Spanish and their celebration of 400 broadcasts. So that's all upcoming. I wanted to start with World Cup tickets, Roberto, because this just came over from Fabian Renkel. And he may follow you or you may see his stuff.
I do.
And he put in 24 hours into the entry period. So this came across a few hours ago. The Visa pre-sale draw, and I want to talk to you a little bit about it, has received, as he put it, an impressive number of applications from all over the world. 1.5 million fans from 210 countries have signed up for this pre-draw. The highest demand came from the U.S., Mexico, and Canada. No shock there. And then Argentina, Colombia, Brazil, England, Spain, Portugal, and Germany. That's the order of
all those teams will make it.
Yeah.
I was going to wonder if you're going to say Venezuela in there, but they ain't going to be there. That's like such a shame. I'm horrified for them. They got smoked at home. They went ahead, and then they wound up losing 6-3 at home. Oh, how does that happen?
In the meantime, Tunisia gets in. In the meantime, Ecuador gets in. These are always interesting to me to see who makes it and who doesn't in this expanded World Cup. I would imagine if you're a country that's normally in or always kind of right on the edge and you're not in, you probably feel even worse this time around.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I mean, it's 48 tickets to be had. Well, 45 really. 3 were assigned with the host. So you've got that. And little by little, they're trickling in and filling up all the slots.
Now, Roberto, I'm sure you're like me, where because we're kind of in the media and we cover the team. We've been to previous World Cups. Everybody's coming up and asking you, how do you get World Cup tickets? Well,
I have.
We have no inside track. You have to go through the process everybody else does. Now, the one thing I did advise my friends, Roberto, because I sent them all this Visa pre-sale stuff. I'm keeping everybody abreast. Thanks to Paul Kennedy and Soccer America, wrote a beautiful, just logical, easy to read piece as to how each section is going to go. But there was no reason to log on at 11 a.m. yesterday morning Eastern time. Well, nobody ever believes when it said it doesn't matter what order that you put your lottery draw in. every one of them will just be thrown in, and it doesn't matter the order. That doesn't have any
bearing.
It doesn't affect anything as far as who's going to get the tickets in this lottery.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, of course, it got overloaded yesterday, and the whole thing.
My friend, he and his sister tried it, and he's from Canada, but he lives here in New York. He has a restaurant right down the block here, and a huge soccer fan. And he and his sister tried, got in, no problem, and later got an email saying that, wait for the next step. They had no problem. And then, of course, I read online, some of the problems and the 404 errors that a lot of people were sharing.
Yeah.
I didn't even try. If I don't get a press pass, I don't get a press pass. I'm going for that.
The damn spinning wheel. I'd rather have that negative message than that damn spinning wheel.
Yeah, because you never know if you're connected or not.
So Keegan, I'm just Keegan. This is on X. My experience with this was pretty straightforward and drama-free. Waited an hour and 20 minutes to get in. Then he got the 30-minute countdown, and then he signed up and got his confirmation email like your friends. So he was patient and had the opportunity to wait, while others, if they had to spend more than an hour there, as we saw on social media, they were not particularly pleased. But the idea is, why'd you do it anyway? You can do it next week. It's going to be easier. You can do it up till September the 19th. So you can just go about it a little bit more.
Yeah, because all you did is basically you got a ticket to a lottery. It's not like you're guaranteed tickets. You just got a ticket to the lottery. And we know how that goes.
Yeah, it's a lottery. You didn't win the Powerball 1.7 billion?
When the tickets went up from $2 to $5 a number, I was like, I'm done. I have a better chance of being hit by lightning.
Oh, absolutely. Because it's a one. What was it? It was a 1 in 239 million chance that you would win. So, but $5 is $5, I guess, right?
Yeah, but it was a lot easier when it was $1 or even $2. After it went from 2 to 5, I was like, yeah, that's absurd. I'm not doing that.
All right, that's the World Cup. So we know the U.S. is going to be in, and we know that Australia is going to be in. We're not quite sure if Costa Rica is going to get in, but let's focus on those three lads from New York City FC. Let's start with Matt Freese, who played in both games. The friendlies that the U.S. men had set up with first South Korea and then Japan. Let's start with the first one, and I'm going to play a Pochettino cut from post-game, kind of a montage that I put together. You were at the game at Sports Illustrated Stadium. South Korea, first of all, so you were there. I've heard all these different percentages. What was the percentage of South Korean to U.S. men's national team supporter?
Well, I wrote Mike Moitala, who I sat next to in the press box, but I wrote him as I was walking into the stadium, and kiddingly, I said, I found the 3 U.S. fans. It almost seemed that way, but it was, I would say, 80-20, and anytime, now the Outlaws were sitting, it's not even the Outlaws anymore, is it? I forget what the supporters section was. The American Outlaws, remember that? Is that them? Yeah, because that's a new one, right? Sons, what was it? The Sons of Sam.
Sons of Ben. Sons of Ben or Philly.
Philly, yeah. So anyway,
get to your point.
The Outlaws were at the Red Bull cheering section end, which was all the way on the other side of where the new temporary, I hope, press box is, and you could barely hear them. But, we were totally surrounded by South Koreans, and you see an American shirt here and there. The 80-20 is pretty consistent. Now, I'll say this about it, okay? I don't remember when was the last time South Korea came in and played in the New York area. And, Hyunmik's son was going to be part of the team. There's a lot of excitement. So I get where a lot of those fans, with not ever having really a chance to see their team, that they went and they and had a chance, and so they went out and spent the money. Of course,
but 80-20 when you're in your home turf, it's still not good. And I recognize that in game 2, it was much better against Japan.
Better. But I will say this: when you say home turf, the Korean the South Korean population in that part of Jersey is enormous.
You're saying it outnumbers, so it outnumbers all the other nationalities. Is that what you're saying? I mean, come on, man.
I'm not saying that it outnumbers the U.S., but it's enormous, and they had more of an interest in going per se, because the U.S. team plays here. I'm not going to say often, but often enough where you can drive and see them at least yearly.
Did you? Were there any South Korean jerseys on sale? I know, because you can't find one for LAFC. Did you notice that at all?
They were. I don't know if I saw them on sale, but Jesus, so many people had them, and a lot of Spurs jerseys with Son.
Sure.
And it was funny because, some of this I really, really liked, because I got to, when we're going down, leaving the game, got to go down with with a majority of South Korean fans, and a lot of them were like, yeah, we really wish the Americans, that the U.S. would have scored more. We wanted to see them play well, and sort of rooting for them too. So there was a lot of division within the South Koreans that were there. They were rooting for both teams. They weren't like just pro South Korea and just fully anti-American or anything like that. Not at all. And it was polite. It was wonderful.
Humble, respectful.
Oh my God!
Right.
It was lovely.
Everybody took
the garbage from their seats and put them in trash cans along the way. I mean, God, it was just lovely. It was really lovely, and they were loud.
And did you see? I hope I have it still written down. Yeah, Virginia Tech. So this was going to be in kicking it around, but since you talked about them cleaning up their area, the Virginia Tech grounds crew has a Twitter account. So this is college football. Vanderbilt defeated Virginia Tech, but here's what the crew wrote, the grounds crew. From the custodian crew at Lane Stadium, thank you, Vanderbilt, for leaving the locker room clean. I don't have a photo of it, but I looked at it. It looked like they shampooed the carpet, and I mean, it was that. But that's respect, man.
Yes.
That is respectful. And
Vanderbilt's a military academy, so
but those kind of stories should be amplified, just like 100%. The humble and nature of Sonny. So that's, but for the U.S., it was not good. It was a poor performance. There was so much more negativity, which I think needs to be limited. I agree with Mauricio Pochettino. However, I want to play this montage. So he had a post-game presser, and they provided a video of it, as they do after each game. So I took it, and I just took some of what I thought were some of the key elements to it. And Chris Richards is part of this because he didn't start in the game, and that's kind of what set off Pochettino in his post-game. It wasn't a rant, but you could tell it was escalating towards the end.
Here's
there. Pochettino. There we go.
This national team and this country is qualified already for the World Cup, and of course, the important thing is to apply the common sense. If people sometimes want to talk about bullshit, can't talk about bullshit. But we feel the responsibility about to provide the whole group of players that we think that can be important in the future for this country in the World Cup. In the case of Chris Richards, that is obvious, that is important player for us. We need to give the priority of how he is, him. Because if not, if we don't play for the qualification, it's a friendly game, and we take a risk, and maybe we create a big problem because we want to play with him. I think the same people that debate about why he's not playing, why he play, And that is important thing. When I told you before, we have a plan, we know what we are doing, we have experience. I think the important thing is to provide the player the possibility to arrive to the World Cup in the best condition. Sometimes people want to talk only to analyze the result and want to be negative. And I think it's a little bit a shame. We need to be positive because we need to be all together. And because that country deserves that we are all in one side trying to help to arrive to the World Cup in the best condition and be competitive and be a team competitive to do something that make proud our fans. That is the most important thing. That is why when you or people sometimes talk about this, we are not amateur. We are a professional people that we are, look after. We are looking in all this type of situation. It's not because we don't want to call him or to play with him or I think it's a risk. In the same time, you need to bring some players with the possibility to give game time. And you ask me why? Why? Because if Tillman is injured, no, but he's injured, and everyone say Tillman is going to be the best. Okay, but he's become injured the day before to give the roster, and now who is going to replace him? That is why now is the moment. Of course, I want to win, and I want to win against South Korea. I want to win tomorrow against Japan. But at the same time, we need to provide the game time to players that maybe have not experience. But when you are involved in football, the responsibility also is to help. And I think we are in a place now, in USA, here, that I think we need help. We need help because the circumstances are different. We don't have official game that you say, hey, come on, you saw in the Gold Cup how compete the team. When we are all together, 40 days working together, that is the team that we want. That is why we are happy. That was the plan. That is the plan. We delivered the plan. With different player, with another player, with players that maybe you didn't saw that one day can perform in the national team. Yeah, but we are here because something needs to change. That is why less than 1 year ago, they come and offer be in charge of the national team here. And because we are different and we have different words or less, no. We are here because we want to share with you, we want to learn from you, we don't want to teach anyone, only that we have our plan, and that is a process. Of course, I want to win all the games, but if we cannot win, we need to be positive in knowing that we are doing things very important for the arriving in the World Cup in the best condition. That's it.
So I know that was a long cut, but I think he's a bit fed up with the criticism. I think that's pretty obvious. I had somebody, I tweeted that out, and I had somebody respond named Florage. This is what he said: watching body language without sound from my old qualitative researcher days, he starts out very defensive, gets increasingly argumentative, and finally dismissive, which body language tells a lot, and that's why I read a lot of quotes, and in my X or my post or whatever, I said it's important to see people speak when you have the opportunity to, because of just that.
I agree. And I understand it. I mean, he's under criticism. He's under fire from some of the people in the media. A lot of the fans I have been putting, negative comments out there. So, and then, the team hasn't really performed greatly, and which is part of the reason he's got the squad that he brought in, because of the fact that when he was in Copa, when the team played in Copa America and when the team played in Nations League, they absolutely underperformed. So if anybody thought that should have been, the 23 that they should have kept together and going forward, after those performances, he was like, oh no, we're not going to win with this. We can't survive with this. And maybe there's two ways of looking at this, where he wants to light a fire under those players who still might be the best players at the best 23 or 26 that he can put together. Or I need to see who I can bring in who is going to add something that a lot of these guys can add for me. Because what I'm looking at the status quo is not going to get us out of the group stage. Like it didn't get them out of the group stage in Copa America when they should have gotten out of the group stage in Copa America. And so I understand his absolute need to go in and bring in different players and experiment and do that, while other people are saying, hey, he's got to get his 11, get his 18 or whatever, get his 20 and work those guys together. He'll have time, not a ton of time, but he'll have time to do that. And as he said, that he was this was the last sort of experimental window where people were going to get, people were going to get chances. Now it's going to wind up getting reduced. And I think the next window, though, is the next window November or October? Okay, so we got October, and then the November window, it's not going to be with MLS players because they're going to be in the playoffs.
Yes. So the thing I want to, I always want to be careful with this because, players who have never coached and they've played at a high level, certainly I think their opinion, there's a level of worth there. But the players and the media who never coached the game, and look, I'm not going to claim I coached at these levels, the professional level. It's been collegiate level, high level club, regional level. But the thing I've always been careful of, Roberto, and I hope you've noticed, is being critical of coaches when you're not there in the day-to-day environment. We have no idea what's going on in training. We have no idea about the film sessions or the meetings. We don't know about individually how players are being approached. We don't know, Pochettino's got a plan. He's not going to spell out A to Z what that plan is to members of the media. It's not happening. Now, I do think he's feeling a bit of the pressure, and but beyond that, the other thing I want to say is, and I've said this before, he doesn't have a master of the English language, and I think he has a difficult time expressing himself the way he would like. You would know better than me by far because you've heard him respond to questions in Spanish, including your own, and he gives detailed, thoughtful responses. Not that these responses in English aren't thoughtful. It's just not articulate.
He just doesn't have the vocabulary.
Sometimes.
He doesn't have the vocabulary in English. I mean, his English is good, but I mean, he can't express himself in English in the way that he can express himself in Spanish. Sometimes I guess he does himself a little bit of a disservice by answering these questions in English, but he's trying and he's trying and he's trying his best, which is why I cut him some slack on some of these things. Shane, put up Misael's post. Here it is. Okay, and so we were talking about, well, we've lost Glenn. I did not expect that to happen. And Misael puts on, I think it's taken it too far. He's called up some players who have no business being with the national team. And Misael, what I'll say to that is, you don't know that. I don't know that. He's figuring it out. He needs to see who these players are, who you say doesn't have any business being on the national team. Maybe they'll perform very, very well for the national team because maybe they have a skill set that works very well in the tactics that he wants to use. And maybe they have a work
so
rate.
So you've really focused on the personnel. You think that's people's biggest concern? Is that what you've heard?
When we lost you, Glenn, Misael said, I think that he's taken it too far. Here's the quote again. And I'm reading it because of the people who are listening to the podcast and are not looking at video. And so I think he has taken it too far. He has called up some players who have no business being with the national team. And so I'm directly answering that. Okay. And the point is that
we got to move on soon.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm just saying.
But
okay.
You don't know that until you see them perform in the national team. And you see them in camp and you see them with other players. And that's my point, is that you can't figure that out until you actually see them.
And now the people that were, including your boy, Mike Wotaya, who I'm also friendly with, you have known him for a longer period of time, absolutely hammered the U.S. after the South Korea game and then really lauded them after the Japan game. Here's why I want everybody to be careful with this Japanese game, all right? And this comes from Dan Orlowitz, a friend of mine who writes for the Japan Times. He knows more about this team and can speak to it in English than anybody I know, and that includes Tom Byer, who said to me he thought that the Japanese team threw Pochettino a lifeline by starting the C team. So the way Dan referred to it is, quote, it was definitely a B-C squad. Every member rotated out. We didn't see a bulk of Japan's A attackers until the hour mark. So indeed, they came in. Things were very thin due to injuries at the back. The three backs that went against Mexico would have fared better against helped fare better against the U.S., but the squad wasn't there. 38-year-old Nakatomi started at the back, and what he said of him is that he's very important in the locker room, not necessarily as a player. So that's just, and they switched shape to a three. Hold on, they switched their shape to a 3-4-3. Now everybody's saying, "Oh, that fits the personnel." Look, I love three at the back. You understand me? So I'm not discounting that this wasn't something that worked on the evening, and it's a fantastic shape to press. So if you know that you can press a team effectively and in all corners of the field, the far corner, the midfield pinch towards the touchline and the back corner, the way that shapes up, it's a really good pressing shape. And they had success, but it was against the Japan B/C team. And I just say, I'm not saying they didn't play well. I'm saying let's be careful with our analysis of this match.
And I'll be careful with saying this as well. When you look at the team that the U.S. put out on the field, you could make an argument that Blackman, maybe Ream, Freeman, Roldan, Arfston, and Sendejas, who all started, are not going to be in the starting 11 come the first game of the World Cup. I'm not saying that they're not going to be on the team and that there may not be valuable pieces off the bench. Maybe a couple of these guys come back and absolutely do start. But what you're saying, it's not like it was the American A team against the Japanese C team. They're both teams are rotated. I mean, and for necessity for the U.S., because the U.S. was looking to find different players from who we think should be the natural starters, because a lot of guys didn't earn the right to be here at this point, and maybe they're lighting a fire under them. But if that's Japan's B and C team, this is definitely not the A team, although they're looking to see how many of these guys may be part of the A team. Is that fair?
Yeah. Yep. And as far as Zendejas, you sent this, so I want to share Mauricio Pochettino on Alejandro Zendejas. So especially Roberto, one of Roberto's favorites. The quote was, with this type of performance versus Japan, he scored a great goal. He's in the race for the roster of the World Cup. So the race is on to see who is going to make that final swat.
Well, what did you think of Sendejas? Before we go, we have time. We got a little bit of time here. What did you think of Sendejas?
Well, I think I told you, I might have wrote in the group chat that he when he came on, he made a difference.
And that was as a sub.
First game. Yeah. So I saw, it was like, wow, and obviously he's built a great level of confidence, but he's always been maybe a little on edge because he's only gotten these few minutes with the U.S. men. So getting the start, I think, was huge. I still think I think working together with those around him is still a challenge. Individually, fantastic. And I think the next step for him is the collective, how he can help the work combine and get in those fashions too.
Well, the one thing that he had going for him is that he and Christian Pulisic played together in youth teams for the United States. So they know each other, and they know each other really, really well. And they know each other off the field and on the field. So you could see that there was a connection there. And I like that. I like his activity level. I like how good and easy he is on the ball on a team that has players that have issues in controlling the ball. And I think that this is important for the U.S. national team, because I remember in World Cup past and think the U.S. national team can be a turnover machine. And you want guys who want the ball, can be comfortable on the ball, know how to trap a ball, and know how to make a good pass. And maybe it's not the most aggressive pass, but know how to make a good pass and control the ball, and thus be able to control control the rhythm of the game, right? You want to have the ball, you want to have possession. And so these are the things that I'm looking for and that I want to see. And I think that he adds that. And I think that you put him in the mix as far as, if he continues to play the way he played against Japan, you got to put him there in the mix of, okay, who are we going to start? Who's going to make the team and who are we going to start? I think he really did a very, very good job. We've seen his improvement in Mexico year after year, playing for the top club in Mexico, which is America. The pressure that you have there, that you must perform every single game. And not only has he performed, he's excelled. They gave him the number 10 shirt in America. That's a high honor. That is a high honor.
And the other aspect of his game on that night against Japan is you saw him on the left side of the pitch, on the right. He was central, inverted. So he was given a lot of liberties, which I like from Pochettino once they crossed the midfield line. So I'm with you. I think, I think there's a very good shot. I think Diego Luna we know is in, and Zendejas, another little guy. I always like the little guys. So let's get them all in there. Just keep them out for the set pieces. Put them at the top of the box for the set pieces. That's all.
Hey, by the way, the last set piece goal by New York City was Maxi Morales to Johnny Shore. You're not going to find two shorter players on the team than those two. So don't sell yourself short, Glenn.
That's very good, Roberto.
Thank you very much.
Matt Freese, perhaps a bit of struggle on the 2 goals against South Korea. That you could look at that a couple of different ways. I would love to know what his keeper coach for Robert Tugian and Freese himself thinks of those 2 moments in the 2-0 loss. But as I wrote on X, he looked so comfortable in that Japan match. And look, there was less pressure on him, understood. But he had a comfort level that I thought was soothing if I were at the back. And now you're playing 3 at the back, big switch. And, I think that's commendable on his side. I think he took another step in taking the top spot.
Oh, yes.
While Matt Turner was giving up 2 terrible goals against New England, against Chicago. We've watched that match because Chicago's the next opponent, and they beat New England 3-2.
The first one, oh my God! Well, I don't know what he's thinking of. The first where he's jumping and the ball, the ball is on the ground. Yeah. I just don't get that. But I'll say this about Matt Freese. I thought that Matt Freese was okay in the first game. It was hard to see if you could really give him blame. You could look at it from 2 sides. If you could blame him for any of the 2 goals, Sonny's goal is great, and I mean, how he can place those balls coming down that wing, and he was in no man's land there. I'm going to give him. I can't say that he should have made a save. The second one, did he come out? Did he react on time or not? That might be questionable. I'd love to hear what he had to say on that. And at that point, and up to that point, and you and I had spoken about this, and I had said, what I've yet to see from Matt Freese, and aside from the 3 penalty kick saves that he had against Costa Rica, which were absolutely massive, right? I haven't seen that spectacular, oh my God, how did he get to that ball sort of save that we're so accustomed to seeing from American goalies throughout the years. Okay, from David Vannoli on. Okay, we're accustomed to seeing that, of American goalies stealing games for the United States. It's part of the pedigree. It's part of the job description. There's no doubt about it. But against Japan, he made 6 saves, and there were maybe 2 or 3 that you could fit into that description. And that was really important to me. Aside from everything that you said, which I think is a fantastic evaluation of him, but I think that the fact that he was put under difficult circumstances and had to come up with key saves, and he was there and made, I'm not going to say he made it look easy, but he made the saves. He made the saves that he had to make, and maybe, you feel that he shouldn't have made. And I think that bodes very, very well for him. The way I see Matt Freese for the United States national team right now, it's his job to lose. It's not a toss-up. I don't think it's a competition. The only way he loses it if he plays himself out of the position. That's my way of viewing it after these 2 games and since he's been the starter.
Well, we're going to get a pretty clear picture of it in October and November when 4 more matches are played to see how many he gets and how many Matt Turner gets, because Turner's going to be the other guy.
They may not get any. They may not get any because, well, Turner might, because New England's eliminated or going to be eliminated from the playoffs most likely. But if New York City's in the playoff race, they might just leave him here because they're trying not to affect, as far as I've heard, they're trying not to affect teams that are, trying to make the playoffs. So they might go with European goalies, or they might go with goalies who have nothing to play for here in the U.S. So Turner might get a shot.
So that would open up the line for Turner to get a couple of games and see what happens, So, all right, that's a great point, Roberto. And so that's the U.S. men with Freese. Aiden O'Neill was at training today. So all 3 of the big internationals that we're going to mention here returned to training today. Aiden O'Neill left early. I thought he looked tired. Why not? He had to fly from New Zealand on Wednesday. to get back and, so they got him out of there quickly. So he'll be available on Saturday against Chicago. Will he start, or will Johnny Shore get the start? I don't know. We got no inclination of that today. Aidan O'Neill played as a sub in the first game for Australia in a 1-0 win against New Zealand. These are friendlies. Australia's already in the World Cup, and then played a full 90 in a 3-1 win. So the most recent game on Tuesday, he played the full 90. So I think he may be I don't want to say he'll be given the day off, but I sense he might not be in the 11 just to be safe. And then there's Alonso Martinez, who you're just going to throw back in. Sorry, Alonso, no rest time for you, dude. And
done enough.
And he scores. So let's look at the goal that he scored against Haiti. It is as typical an Alonso Martinez goal as you'll see, and it's his 6th goal as a member of Costa Rica. Let's see if we got that.
Vargas goal in the opening 60 seconds. And here is Vargas. Chips it over the top, flag staying down. Martinez rockets! Martinez torches the threads! Costa Rica have a second, and it's that man, the New York City star, Alonso Martinez.
Should have been game over, but it ended up 3-3. So there you go.
They were down 3-2. Haiti came all the way back, took the lead, and it wasn't until like stoppage time that Costa Rica came back at home and was able to tie that game. But the Dangers were playing with a 2-0 lead.
Leaves them in second place in their groups right now. If the World Cup qualification season ended, Costa Rica would have to play like an intercontinental playoff game. So, but there's matches left to play, and he'll be missing during these international breaks as well, and that's going to be difficult for New York City to replace. And maybe at the forefront of the thinking on the sporting side, as New York City considers recruiting Roberto, is there seemed to be a legitimate report out there that Ajax sought his services during the transfer window, and New York City, whether it wasn't high enough or they just said, forget about it right now. We can't do this right now.
Yeah,
we're in the midst of something that's pretty vital for us. So
I think the fan base would riot if they sold Martinez. As much as Martinez may want to go to Europe at some point, I haven't asked him about that, but you would figure that he might. But it would definitely not be the right time to do that.
And I'm hoping, Roberto, I know I'm going to get him at some point, but I'd like that sit down to be sooner than later with Alonso Martinez. And I've worked it out with Hudson River Blue, who, the great stuff there, the outfield. We have 2 sources of really critical information for the club. But I'm going to sit down with a translator, Esteban Camino. Maybe Roberto Abramowitz will be in there to assist.
He does not need my assistant. He's freaking
all right.
brilliant.
Well, it's like, you have the VAR and you have the AVAR, so maybe. But anyway, a Q&A is forthcoming. I don't know when, but he's got such an interesting story, and I'm going to really dig in about his background growing up on this tiny island of 1,500 and how he got to school, how he got to soccer, how his game grew. There's a great story around how he got transferred. So we'll get into that soon, and hopefully it's sooner than later. What else we got? Well, New York City's at Chicago. We do want to stay within the 60-minute time period here for our podcast. The one thing I'll say, Roberto, is Chicago at home actually has a worse record than Chicago on the road. So and Soldier Field is a mess. Greg Berhalter was asked about it today. His answer, it's the typical, well, both teams have to deal with it. You got 2 teams here that like to play with the ball on the ground. So it's going to be interesting to see this NFL surface, which has been torn up and is not going to be good. And I know Pascal Janssen today, as we were chatting with him, he's gotten a look at it, and he was like, boy, I think I think the message from him, without him saying it, was like, I hope it's not as bad as it looked. But we'll see how it goes.
I'll presume that they'll erase, or as much as they can, all the football lines that they can. But, the Bears, I believe, have like a black end zone. So that's going to be hard to really erase. You're going to see definitely a shadow of some sort of the NFL field. I mean, the only other option they have is going out and playing in what do you call it, SeatGeek, but they're trying not to do that.
And the Bears themselves are moving out of the stadium, right? It's not official, I guess. I don't know.
Nope, not yet. They don't have a stadium. They're looking to build something. As a matter of fact, the Fire will have a new stadium. The Fire will have a new stadium before the Bears do, because the Fire already, all their stuff has been approved. The Bears, they're still looking at Arlington Heights, and they're looking at other places, and they can't seem to find, everything that they want. So
$4.7 billion stadium near Soldier Field. Significant obstacles from political leaders and community organizers. So we know how long it took for New York City to get through some of the minutiae. It's very important that you have the support of the community, and it went from the Bronx to Queens, and soon enough, Etihad Park. We do have.
If we only had pictures or something.
Hold on. Well, we do. We have one photo, and how did you know we had this? We have one photo recently, and it was taken by, I want to make sure I give them credit, New York YIMBY, YIMBY. And this is where the chop shops are. Do you have this one, Shane? There it is. And look at that.
Yeah.
That's the grandstand, man.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So when I went to the tennis, I saw it. I took pictures of it as well. There's been a lot of pictures that people have been putting up. It's amazing how quick all the infrastructure is going up. Look at that. I mean, you're ready. And there was a shot that I saw not too long ago that was like from the air. It was taken, I guess, from a drone, or maybe it was an airplane going by, and because it's in the landing pattern for LaGuardia. But it was very cool to see how the outline is already there, the outline for the field, the outline for all the stands and everything, things going up
very exciting.
On time.
Very exciting.
And it's going to, if everything continues like this, it's going to be very early.
Well, the earlier the better. But if it's ready for the opener in 2027, that is the goal, and that would be fantastic.
Yep.
All right, Roberto, let's kick it around.
Let's do it.
So I need to give credit to Matt Harmon here, as we are about to celebrate our 400th broadcast with the New York City Football Club. Roberto and I have been here since the first kick. We're going to celebrate the English radio first and then the Spanish radio a little later. This Saturday at Chicago will be our 400th broadcast on the English radio commentary. And I want to credit Matt Harmon for the New York Red Bulls, because he posted something. They had their 400th earlier. And then I never thought about it. I never ever thought about it. And so I said, I wonder how many we've done, because I had no idea. So I counted it up. And Roberto, it was supposed to be DC United, but then the postponement of the Columbus match, right?
Yeah.
Due to Citi Field, have another field issue, Citi Field this time. And so we've been delayed a game. So the fun part for us will be, my original broadcast partner was Tom Kolker. Before Matty Lawrence came on full-time with me, and Matty's been with me between 7 and 9 years. He started out small and has grown himself into the position. So Tom is going to join Matty and I on our NYCFC pregame live. It'll be at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central before the game. Matty and I do this before every game, and we're going to have Tom join us, and then he's going to join us.
Wow, he's going to probably lose a sale or something. I mean, it's.
Well, we'll talk about what he's doing. Mr. Real Estate Mogul, and then he's going to join us. We're going to make it 3 in the booth against Charlotte on September the 20th, a Saturday.
Oh, he's coming back.
He's going to come in for that game.
Awesome.
So Roberto, and I will afford you the same luxury here. I'm going to play a couple of my favorite calls over the course of these 400 games. It's not all. And I'm not going to play the MLS Cup final because we hear that before every NYCFC Views Live. So that'd be a waste of footage. But the first one is going to be, and I found this one particularly interesting. When Tati Castellanos scored in overtime, extra time, against New England in the Eastern Conference. Hold on. In the Eastern Conference semifinals in 2021, and remember, New England was the Supporters Shield winners. Matt Turner was in goal. He was the MLS Keeper of the Year. When Tati Castellanos scored in the 109th minute to put New York City up 2-1, it seemed inevitable. But a lot happened. Let's do the call, and then we'll say what happened afterwards.
With Morales, finds Goody, and now it's Castellanos, the header and a goal! It's an overtime goal for Tati Castellanos! And could that be the goal that sends New York City to their first conference final?
No, that was not the goal. There was more to come, and Tati in
almost
penalties
lost that game.
Well, Tati Castellanos he would normally take a penalty. He could not because he got his second yellow. And just a few minutes after that goal, and then Tejan Buchanan scored in the 118th minute. You talk about a demoralizing moment. 2-2, and now we go to penalties. And New York City, 5 for 5 in penalties with Alexander Collins finishing it off. It was Alfredo. Listen to this, Roberto. Alfredo Morales, Thiago Andrade, Ismael Tajiri-Shradi, Maxi Morales, who had really suffered taking penalties prior to this, and Alexander Collins, 5 for 5 against the goalkeeper of the year. Wonderful experience.
That was pretty good. And I remember getting pretty excited about that goal as well, thinking that was it. And then he gets his second yellow. He's out of the game. And then New York City suffered. Oh, did they suffer in those last 7-8 minutes? Oh, my goodness. Was it Tejan Buchanan? Didn't he beat Johnson, but the ball hit the post? And that would have given because they tied the game, obviously. So they did get a goal, and then they almost won it more than 2 or 3 times. I mean, it was a miraculous finish that New York City got into penalties.
Well, it's just one of those things. It was that kind of, you do need good fortune along the way in order to win any kind of championship. It doesn't happen start to finish, without any glitches. And now the other goal I'm going to play just came from a season ago. And it really was thrilling for a couple of reasons. Number one, there hadn't been more than 40,000 spectators at Yankee Stadium for a game since, I think, the first season, right? So you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's correct. So
that is accurate. We had 2 and then none after that.
So this one was Inter Messi coming to town, and New York City was down a goal, and then the boy from the Rye guy ended up equalizing, and here was the call.
There's the corner ball, far corner, bent in, and it's James Sands with his first career goal! How about that? Drake Hollander, hands on hip, showing his frustration. New York City FC. It was the Fernandez free kick that ricocheted out for a corner. And at the death, Sands got inside of Thomas Avalos at the top of the 6. And what a time for Sands, the 24-year-old, the first homegrown signed by the club to get his first career goal. It's the leveler here in front of 44,000 plus. And how about that, Matty?
What a time to score your first. And the performance of NYCFC deserved this. You don't always get what you deserve for in football, but they deserve at least a point here. And the referee's looking at the watch and blowing the whistle, Glenn.
That was great.
I remember a key stat, and I think I might have mentioned it just before the corner kick, but I had mentioned it at least once during the game. Inter Miami had only allowed, to that point of the season, 3 header goals all season long.
Well, there you go. And Sands knifing his way in. I love that. I love the knifing that it takes to get to that spot.
And what a great cross by Santi Rodriguez.
I thought you were going to say what a great call by me, since we're honoring the 400th.
Yes, by the way, that was a really good call, guy.
Yeah, thanks.
No, it really was.
And then Maddie Lawrence with me, and Maddie and I, and it will happen with Roberto and Ariel as well on Wednesday. I hope you get to the game a little early. Come on in earlier on Wednesday, September 13th, when New York City plays host to Columbus. We're going to be on the field, Maddie and I, for pregame, and the club is doing a great job of honoring the moment, and as they will with Roberto and Ariel on October the 18th when New York City plays host to Seattle.
Yes, and we don't know where yet, so we'll find out once the Mets and Yankees decide what they're doing, if they're going to be part of the playoffs or not, or if they're going to say goodbye early. The reason now, I just want to mention this because I don't want people to think that there was a priority thing one way or the other. The reason Glenn gets to do this first is because he celebrates 400 before Spanish does, because in years 4 and 5 of New York City, we didn't in Spanish. We didn't have a contract, and we missed several games at the beginning of each season, and so that's why we're a little bit further behind on all of this.
Yeah, Roberto was holding out for more cash.
yeah, sure. Yeah, that was it. That was the key.
Yeah, all those holdouts. The preseason doesn't show up. Sometimes Roberto doesn't show up to protest. It's really interesting. Really interesting.
I'm under advice. I'm under my advice from my lawyer, Mark Zimmerman.
Well, it's all good, and we're really we're really happy that the club has noted this. 400, for whatever reason, 400 is like a big number. It always has been. Like when a coach gets his 400 or her 400th victory, it's huge. I don't know what we're going to do for 500. Are they going to go through all this again? I don't know, but probably not.
500 is going to be even huger. I think it's called.
Is that the word? All right. Finally, Roberto,
so, yes.
as we close this, well, we should close on this note and just and kind of let everybody know where we're at. We're going to be at Soldier Field on Saturday. Airtime for Roberto and myself, 8:15 Eastern. I got to be careful. 7:15 Central, where we're going to be for our pregame shows. Roberto will have Thiago Martins. I'll have Pascal Janssen, and then Maddie and I will be on with special guest Tom Coker, and we'll have some other things going on at 7:30 Eastern with NYCFC pregame live. Cool, huh?
That sounds awesome, and I'm looking forward to Chicago because it's a lovely town, and it should be a hell of a lot of fun. Every time we go there, we have a great time. Love that place. 2-hour flight, easy peasy, and we hope they have a big crowd in Soldier Field. Hopefully, the grounds crew at Soldier Field can do a great job patching that thing up. After an NFL game, it's really, really tough. That's why there aren't too many stadiums that have an MLS team and a football team that have grass. As a matter of fact, I believe the only one is Chicago. Because if we look at Seattle, Atlanta, Charlotte, right? Who else shares? New England.
I don't know. I can't think anymore. I can't think about it anymore.
It's all turf. Yeah. So at least Chicago tries to keep it grass.
Yep. I like that. It's going to be a mess, but I like that. Hopefully it doesn't rain. There's no rain in the forecast.
There's no rain in the forecast. It's supposed to be really nice weather. It's actually supposed to be pretty warm. It's supposed to be either high 70s, low 80s for kickoff. So It's supposed to be pretty warm.
All right. Roberto, thanks to everyone for joining us. And as always, if you have listened live, you should understand that it is available on YouTube. If you missed any portion of it, spread the word. But for Roberto Abramowitz, I'm Glenn Crooks. Thank you, Shane, on NYCFC Views Live.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast NYCFC Views on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.